Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is a vlog of my late autism and ADHD diagnosis. And today in this video, I want to talk about monotropism. It's a word that I've been hearing tossed around for the last couple of months. Just for me personally, I mean, it actually got discovered several years ago, but for me, it came up in my awareness a couple of months ago. And when I'd first hear about it, I didn't understand it, didn't really relate to me. And it was something that I'm like, okay, take note of it, Amanda, but put it in the background and figure it out later. And a lot of times in my vlog, this is me processing out loud and learning out loud with you guys. So I got diagnosed a little over a year ago, October of 2022. And this is kind of just my process of me learning about what it is to actually be autistic, understanding how and why my brain works. And so I'm learning out loud with you guys. So when I first heard of monotropism, and I'm going to read a definition for you. Monotropism is a person's tendency to focus their attention on a small number of interests at a time, tending to miss things outside of this attention tunnel. This cognitive strategy has been posited as the central underlying feature of autism. The theory of monotropism was developed by Dinah Murray, Wenn, Lawson, and Mike Lesser starting in the 1990s and was first published in 2005. And when I first heard about it, the reason why I didn't relate to it or understand it is because I was applying that word to a situation that I don't think it related to. So when I first heard about monotropism and like the tending to miss things outside of the attention tunnel and focus their thing on a small number of interests, I wasn't really thinking about, I didn't key on that word interest. And I was thinking about like my experience at a coffee shop. So when I go to a coffee shop, I don't tune out all of my surroundings. I'm not tunnel visioned. Back when I was masked, I did. And I'll tell you about that in a second. That's why, and another reason why I had a layer of confusion. But now that I'm unmasking my autism, I am now just so much more aware of my surroundings. And I can hear the person ordering coffee. I can hear the coffee machine. I can hear the person at the drive-through window. I hear people talking around me in 3 different booths, the toddler, playing over in the corner with their mother. I can hear someone clinking their dishes as they're putting them away. Like I can't tune out any of the noises. I hear them all, and it makes it very difficult to have a conversation with the person that I'm at the coffee shop trying to have tea with. Because y'all know I don't drink coffee, but I do love my tea, and I do go get tea. Anyway, so a allistic, non-autistic person, when they're in that coffee shop, their brains hear all those extra noises, and their brain tells them, hey, these aren't dangerous. You don't need to pay attention to them. And their brain will tune it out. An autistic person can't filter these things, and we just hear it all equally. It's all the same importance level to our brain that we need to listen to it. It's one of the theories why autistic people were really amazing back in tribal society, because we were the watch people. We were the ones who were looking out for the dangers. That's just another theory on autism. And going back from masked to unmasked, when I was masked autistic before I got my diagnosis, I would use the word tunnel vision. And that's why I think for me personally, I was getting this really confused with monotropism, because when I was masked, one of my survival techniques would literally to be my brain purposely spent energy tuning out. It's not like an allistic person who naturally can tune out these background noises. I literally would have to spend brain energy to tune out my surroundings so that I could hyper focus and tunnel in on the person talking to me. And it was actually detrimental. It probably put me in situations that were not safe because I would so tune out my background that I was just like wandering around, completely oblivious to my surroundings. As I lost, start to unmask, hold on. I'm trying to make sure I say this right. The coping mechanisms that I had pre-diagnosis as a masked autistic, I don't have access to them anymore. As I'm unmasking, there are certain situations where I will mask up, and I'm not really in control of it. My brain just goes back into survival patterns.
One of the tells that I have that I am masked is when I have this little silly giggle. I cannot stand it now, and I never used to be aware of it, but I will giggle. So for instance, the other day, the vet called to check on my cat, and I went straight into a masked conversation just because it was a short phone conversation, and we had some small talk, and I just would yeah, she's fine, talking about my cat. And it was me masking my autism.
But there are now areas where I can't mask, and my window of tolerance has gotten, smaller, and it's just bringing awareness to a subject. You can't really unlearn it now, right? That's kind of how I talk about it. So I can't really go into that coffee shop and tune out everything else on purpose anymore. I've somehow lost that masking ability. So now I rely on earplugs. But anyway, back to monotropism. So the reason why I started to now, okay, what is that word that people were saying again? Let me learn about this, because now I feel like I understand it and it applies. So back in December, it's middle of February now, back in December 19th to be specific, because it was the day before my twin's birthday, I got the idea of a book, and I sat down and started writing this book. And it has been my hyperfocus, hyperfixation, whatever the right word is, for the last couple of months. It is all I want to do. I definitely have this attention on a small number of interests at a time. And anything else that comes up, like even creating content, I love creating videos for y'all guys. You know that. This is part of also my special interest. But right now, my book is top. It is my top focus. And because I am an adult that has responsibilities, I have kids, it's my job in the family to make dinner every night. I can't just have my monotropic focus. I literally have to pull my attention away to other things and accomplish other tasks in my day, just like any other adult. And even kids can't do this. But I can feel my brain wanting to only do this thing. And having my attention pulled away it's making me sometimes irritable. It's making me grumpy. It's I don't want to cook dinner tonight. I want to be writing my book. And I'm having to really work at, my attitude and energy, because I'll be working on my book and my kids will come into my office, sit on my couch to talk to me, which I absolutely love and want them to do. And so I make myself pull that attention away from my book so I can focus on my kids. But it takes so much effort. And that's where I realized that this is the monotropism. It is not easy. It is me having to be very intentional with, okay, I am, being interrupted by my kids, but that is something that I want to do. I want to spend time with them. So put the book aside. Hold on, my dog wants out of my room. So it's like put the book aside and do the other task. And it's not been easy. And then there's been a couple of days where I struggled to write because I got to a point in my book where I was like, I didn't know which way I wanted to take the plot. And that really affected my mood for the entire day because I wanted to be working on my book, but just because the nature of this, task, it'd be just like, a computer engineer working on a problem and getting stuck in the code. It's like, you just can't move forward even though you want to. It just like really affected my mood. It's like I was kind of mopey and it's like trying to focus my attention on something else for that day to get my mind off of it, let my brain relax, and then maybe I could get back to the book. But no, I wanted to be in front of my computer working on my book. So and now I can see this has happened multiple places in my life before, and I understand it. For instance, the first time when I wanted to learn how to crochet, like the very first time, I crocheted for, I think, 6 hours straight that day. Like the next day, my hands were physically hurting because you were using muscles in a different way than you normally would. But did that stop me? No, I took some relief and then I picked up and spent, another 6 hours the next day crocheting. Like I was so hyper focused on that new activity. I did not want to do anything else. And I do not know what was going on in my life at that time when I was learning to crochet that let me spend that much time focused on it. That is really unusual. But again, I also have a memory disorder, so I don't have memories like that. But I do have that fact that I spent that many hours on it just because I was like, what is wrong with me? And that was before my diagnosis. So I I had no understanding about hyperfixations or hyperfocuses. It was just crazy how intent I got onto crocheting. So one thing that I want to kind of relate with this understanding of monotropism is how I can see how it might affect the different levels of autism. So I'm diagnosed autism level 1, which is considered low support needs, not no support needs, but that's a whole nother rant. I can never get comfortable. I'm always moving. Okay. So I think somebody, depending on like where they are in burnout, because autism is very dynamic, and depending on other stressors in their life, I feel like monotropism and this intense focus on a special interest is a way for our brains to kind of like cope because the outside world is so hectic and frustrating. And if we can just focus on this one thing that we have control over, I think it just helps regulate our nervous systems. But I could see younger kids when like they're really focused on a video game, and I'm talking about an autistic kid, not an allistic kid, and the parent pulls them away and they will have like this big upset, the big meltdown. It's because of the monotropism. It's the brain wanting just to focus on this and not have to do any other task, whether it's eating, bathing, schoolwork, things that have to get done in their life. And it's not because they are irresponsible or, different negative labels. It's like the brain is like, that's all it wants to focus on. Like all I want to focus on is my book. And so for me to have to focus on other things, it's taking me more energy and effort to focus on those other things right now. So for instance, cooking used to be one of my big special interests. I can cook pretty easily without having to spend too much time and energy and effort remembering the steps of how to cook certain meals, because it's just that used to be a big special interest of mine. And thank goodness, because right now I'm really struggling to cook. That special interest did a 180, and I've talked about it a little bit here and there, but right now it's extra hard because it's like all I want to do is be working on my book. But when I have to go into the kitchen to make dinner for my family, it's taking me a lot more energy and effort to focus on what I'm doing, because like in the background, I'm like thinking about my characters and thinking about like, oh, what can I write next and things like that. So while I was looking up some information for this video, I came across a monotropism quiz, and I, like a lot of us late diagnosed autistic people, like to take some of the quizzes that you find on the internet to, you know, if you're in the process of trying to find out if you are actually autistic or not. And this one's from the, I think it's pronounced Sachs Center. It's SACHS Center, and I will put a link in the description box down below. And it's Monotropism quiz, and I took the quiz, and it said if you score above 188, then you likely show signs of being autistic. I took this test and scored a 217 just the first time through, but I wanted to like go over some of the questions. After a period of instability, I need a quiet and predictable environment. Yeah, so like when things are really like loud and crazy, and or even a trip to the grocery store. It's like when I come home, I need like some period of time of complete quiet. I struggle to concentrate in busy or unpredictable environments, and like I was talking about with that coffee shop, like it is hard for me to concentrate when there's so much stuff going around me. A big one for monotropism is finding unexpected disruptions startling to your attention. So like I was saying, like when I'm, in the middle of something, when I'm really focused and somebody needs my attention, it's like, for one thing, I won't hear them. Like I'll hear my name, or if they like are asking me a question, it's like, what did you say? And they might have to repeat it 2 or 3 times, because it takes time for my brain to switch from what I'm doing. I hear that they're talking to me, but I can't and this is part of auditory processing disorder too, I cannot make sense of what they're saying yet, because I'm still focused on this. So like getting my brain to task switch from what I'm working on to what they're asking is extremely difficult for me, especially when I'm like focused on my special interest thing. It's got the eye contact questions in here. I often notice details that other people do not. Like I said, when I'm in a busy environment now, and see, like when I was taking these tests before my diagnosis, my masked personality would tune out things. It's so weird how I've done that flip as I'm unmasking. It was a survival thing because it was so overwhelming for me. And for me to appear neurotypical, which is what the mask is trying to do, because everything would be so overwhelming, my brain just said, okay, we won't pay attention to all that so that you can look like you're paying attention to the one thing in front of you. Except it took so much energy to do that. And that's why I'd come home and I'd be exhausted from stuff. I'm totally focused on activities I'm passionate about, to the point I'm unaware of other things happening. Like, yes, there have been days where I have been working on my book, my computer, and I have no idea what the rest of my family's up to or doing. Like, okay, they're happy. No one's crying. I mean, I've got teenagers now, but they do cry though. Teenagers cry. I cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. I tend to do activities because I find them interesting, and so due to societal expectations, this is one that applied with, especially when I was younger. Like if I liked it, I would do it. I didn't care what other people thought. Some questions about routines in here, and then there's some questions. Do you find it difficult to engage in a task that is not interesting to you, even if it's important? And this one is something that is really hitting home for me because I homeschooled my kids up until 9th grade. Now they're in an online public school, but I absolutely despise the public school system. And yet I have to interact with, their administrators and some of their teachers and things like that. But because I literally have zero cares about the public school system, it is very, extremely, extremely difficult for me to engage with their teachers and like I want to for my kids' sake because I'm a supportive, loving mother, but for my own actual autistic brain, it is so hard because I literally care nothing about grades. It's like my kids are smart, they're happy, they're doing well. I don't care about a grade. Grades mean nothing to me. Grades do not, a test does not test their knowledge. If you get them talking about a topic, they can tell you all about it. You give them a multiple choice question, they're probably going to fail the test because they can't take tests. They can tell you about it. But that's a whole other rant. Stimming. There's a question on here on stimming and fidgets. So, I just hadn't come across this test before in my previous searches. Maybe you have, but the trash truck's about to come by and be loud. But I will link it down below because like I said, it's just another one to take. And I'm curious how monotropism shows up in your life. If you had a better understanding about it before this video, if you didn't, this video has helped you because, the first several times I heard about it, I just didn't relate to the way that people were talking about it. And now it's like it suddenly clicked in my brain and it's like, oh, yeah, I get it. I am definitely a monotropic thinker. So until the next video, guys, bye.